Hi team, it's George. Appreciate all the hard work and effort you've been putting into class. I wanted to go over our uh, assignment for this week. This week we're looking at the methodological analysis. So that's going to take us here where we're going to look at our method, so our materials. Now this is posted in the previous announcement. Now this material, whoops. This material here is just here for our example. This is not in the sample that I posted in the announcement. So here we're going to look at, under method, you're going to look at materials, then you're going to look at procedure. And the materials, what are you going to use in this study? If you're using the this one, we have to be looking at the test when participants take a test using one color of paper and another set of participants use or take the same test using a separate color of paper. So what are you going to need for materials? Well, you're going to need a test, and let's say we're going to use blue and red. So a test on blue paper and the same test on red paper. You're going to need pencils. You're going to need informed consent forms and anything else. Are they going to need calculators? So you just want all the materials that have to be present there. And then our procedure, a lot of times we over complicate the procedure. We want to keep it as simple as it is. Never simpler and never more complicated either. We always want to keep it to be what it is. And so here's just kind of a sample. Provide informed consent to participants, explain the project to the participants, divide participants into two groups. One group will test using red paper, one group will test using blue paper. Participants are given directions on how to take the test. Participants complete the test. Tests are graded by the researcher. Test scores are compared to see if there is a difference. So that is just a simple step-by-step process for the procedure. You don't have to go into great detail, but you just want those points, point by point. So remember, make this so I can understand it. Make it so a third grader can understand it. So the easier you're able to explain things means the better you know them. So if you're able to explain your procedure that you're going to do in order to collect the data very simply, then that means you've put a lot of thought into it and you're able to really see what you want to get. Now, part of the deal here is with our data next. So how are you going to use the data? What do you expect to find? So you're going to expect what you're going to state what you expect to receive. So you're going to be writing this paragraph in future tense as if you actually did the study and this is what you expect to see. So you want to be able to write that, and you would actually do that for a future study you're going to do, and then when you get the results, you're going to see if they match up with what you expected to get. So you can say things like uh, receive data from the scoring of each test. What we did was we took a mean for all the tests and then used the t-test because the t-test is good for comparison of means. And how do I know what tests are good for comparison of means and things like that? Well, if I simply go over here, oh, I had YouTube open a second ago, but if you go to, and I'm going to show you exactly how to go to get it from here, so it probably wasn't there. So I click my video, then I click YouTube, it's going to come up, and a playlist is going to be here. Any second, a playlist is going to be it. There we go. So we don't need to hear that. So, and then you can play the next one. The Dr. Nick does a great job explaining this, so I didn't go any further than what she did. She did a fantastic job. This is just an ad, of course. We'll get through this ad real quick. We'll skip it, and then we'll look at. So she goes through step by step on how to choose a test and the different types of data. Is it nominal data? Is it interval ratio data? What kind of data is it? How many samples do you have? Things like that. So it's very well thought out way she does it. So just follow her process and you'll be able to pick out exactly the type of test that you want to do. Now, you're not going to run the test, so you don't need to worry about how you're going to actually do it in SPSS. You're just going to state the test that you are going to do. So for the one here, where we're looking at two different, we're looking at two different main scores for tests that were given on red paper versus blue paper. You're going to do a comparison, and you have data that fits for a t-test. So t-tests compare the means. So there's also a few other things that you could do if you like, but you just go follow her process and pick out the tests that you're going to use, and then do a little bit of research. So what I could do is, let's just say t-test, and why do I care? So it tells me it is used to determine whether there's significant difference between the means of two groups with all if we assume dependent variable fits a normal distribution. What does all that mean? So just read through what a t-test is, or whatever your test is, and give a brief overview of it. Like if anybody's going to do the old chi-square test, we can look at it right here. What's it used for? Determine whether there's significance between the expected frequency and the observed frequency of the categories to attempt to reject the null hypothesis. So what type of data would you want to use for a chi-square test? Well, guess what? Nick explains that very well. So always refer back to Dr. Nick for these. Do I have to know how to run a t-test or the chi-square test yet? Nope, you do not. You just have to know that, okay, that's the test that I'm going to use, because I'm going to use t-test because I want to compare the means. So just follow what she says. If anybody has any difficulty finding out which tests they're going to use, just let me know. We can work through it. So with that said, that goes, whoops, where's the Word doc? So that would go under methodological analysis. So for one here, the red versus the blue paper, I chose to use the t-test in order to compare the means between the two groups. The only difference between the groups was, or the only variable that we manipulated, was the color of the paper. The tests were the same. The results I expect to see are, a significant difference between people on the blue paper versus a red paper, or whatever your expectations are, and then just explain why you feel that way and support it with any of, you always want to support with any of the documentation that you've already looked up. So does what you think going to happen match with what other people have already found that happens? Can you infer from those other studies? So I hope this is helpful. If anyone needs anything, please contact me, and have a fantastic week.